burning low. Only miss the sun when it starts to snow. Only know you love her when you let her go. Only know you've been high when you're feeling low. Only hate the road when you're missing home. Only know you love her.
Hola, ahora. Buenas tardes. Reanudamos el octavo Foro de Liderazgo Turístico de Exceltur. Bienvenidos de nuevo. Gracias también por su puntualidad tras el almuerzo. Recuerden silenciar los teléfonos móviles por aquello de no interrumpir el desarrollo del coloquio que vamos a tener a continuación. Y una vez superado el ecuador de esta jornada, les voy a presentar el quinto panel, así como a sus integrantes. Este coloquio también se va a desarrollar en inglés. Ya saben que cuentan con receptores habilitados para traducir simultáneamente en español, por si alguno se ha incorporado a última hora, para hablar, para charlar, para debatir sobre innovaciones tecnológicas para el turismo del futuro. Contamos con la presencia de, voy a ir nombrando a los diferentes ponentes, Pedro Moneo, que es presidente y fundador de Opino. Por favor, que vayan subiendo al escenario y ocupando sus butacas. Gracias. Ovidio Andrés, que es presidente de Logitravel. Alex Luzárraga, vicepresidente Corporate Strategy de Amadeus. Javier Delgado, director EMEA de Travel Vertical. Ait Bonke, vicepresidente EMEA Market Management de Expedia. Y para moderar este interesante coloquio que tenemos a continuación, tenemos a Dimitrios Bujalis, director del Laboratorio de e-Turismo de la Universidad de Bournemouth. Como les digo, les recuerdo también la aplicación que, si ustedes se la han descargado ya, la tienen en sus dispositivos móviles para valorar los paneles, para hacer, en cierta manera, una parte interactiva con ustedes y hacerles partícipes de lo que aquí ocurre. Y, sin más dilación, ahora sí, profesor Bujalis tiene la palabra. Adelante, muchas gracias.
Gracias. Buenas tardes a todos. That's all my Spanish for now. But it's great to be back and to see so many good friends. And we've got a fantastic panel to explore the innovation, the technology innovation that's coming for travel and tourism. I think we've had a lot of ideas already this morning, and there's several presentations that they enabled us to understand a little bit the issue better. But I think I'd like to introduce the topic by saying that so far most of the ideas that we heard were about automation. It was really about how can we use technology to improve the things that we're doing in the past. And I really want to ask the panel to concentrate more on the re-engineering of the industry and the disruption technologies that we are facing, and to really look into outlook for 2020, which is 5 years down the line, and to look into how technology is going to change things. The other thing I really like to define is that when we are talking about innovation, we are talking about innovation in product, in process, in people, and in paradigms. And I think what we need to understand is that there is a paradigm shift in the industry and in the way that we are doing business and the way that we are going about everyday life. And I think that will change dramatically the way we are operating in tourism and what kind of tourism are going to see in the future. I work in Bournemouth University. I'm the director of the e-tourism lab, and there we are developing some specific technologies and some specific ideas, particularly on smartness, SOCOMO marketing, augmented reality, and virtual reality, and hopefully we'll have the opportunity to explore some of those things. So I'd like to start by a generic question and see who from the panel would like to answer that. Which technology do you think that they'll have a major impact on tourism? And what are the characteristics of those technologies? Who'd like to start? Ait, you are next to me, so
all right, I'll
go
get
for it.
So first of all, thank you very much for inviting me. I believe the biggest one to watch for is mobile, and we see that already coming. It's probably no surprise. But if I look at our transaction, or in general, and I'm quoting Focusrite, so in Spain we have already about 16% of all the bookings, travel bookings, is online, or mobile, actually, on smartphones. If I look at our own company, 1 out of 4 bookings into Spain is already on mobile. And it means a lot more than just transactional mobile. It means also the customers are expecting something different from mobile. From mobile, they expect to be get a more personalized service, more localized. And that requires a lot in the back end as well. So transaction or responses need to be very quick. It's a huge challenge on the technology, and it requires a lot of data and data processing to be local and to be personal to the customer. So I think that's, for me and for us, that's the biggest one to watch out for. Yeah.
Alex, what do you think?
I fully agree. I fully agree on the mobile impact. So maybe I'd like to bring, especially beyond 2020 and
Speak a little bit louder, or can we have the microphone a little bit louder?
Can you hear me? Yes. So beyond 2020, maybe something that was not so much commented this morning, so to bring a new topic, is the driverless car. I think that this is going to change fundamentally the cities we live in, the way mobility happens in a city, and the travel experience. Since the moment you land into the airport, how you are going to visit a certain destination. So this is going to have a huge impact, not immediately, but we will see that.
Ovidio?
Bueno, sí, bueno, por supuesto, mobile, esto indudable, pero yo creo que además, junto con esta, yo creo que lo que está pasando ahora es, hay otra parte que es muy importante, y es que menos Big Data y más algoritmo, diría yo, ¿no? El problema que hay ahora es adivinar. El problema que hay ahora es usar tecnologías. Se ha hablado de Machine Learning, se ha hablado esta mañana de cosas. Yo creo que cualquier tecnología tendente a adivinar, a anticipar lo que va a querer el cliente en base a características y sobre todo en base a datos que has almacenado durante muchos años, yo creo que esa va a ser la tecnología que también sea ganadora. Yo creo que el darle a cada cliente lo que necesita y cuando lo necesita será determinante.
So it's really about value and what value technology is going to generate. Can I bring the word wearable in the mobile? Because I think everybody's using mobile. The kids are born with mobiles. By the time they go to school, they can master their mobiles better than adults. So do you see wearables coming into the game? Alex? No, sorry, Xavier?
Well, certainly any technology that will be always with the user. At the end of the day, wearables are just an extension of a mobile phone. If you think about the scarce devices that are true wearable devices, they always need to be connected with a mobile phone. So I concur with all the previous comments on mobile. It is fundamental, but the most important aspect is that it should be the backbone of any communication and marketing strategy. So adding to the mobile piece, I would say that programmatic as a marketing discipline, which is increasing a lot these days, and it's just the interpretation of all that data that Ovidio was mentioning, is just making sense out of those vast amounts of data through mobile as the backbone of our relationship with the user is the way to go. So wearables, yes, but they will always be connected with a mobile, which becomes the epicenter of our marketing strategies.
Let me interrupt you for a minute, because people are talking about mobile. Mobile is hardware.
Sorry?
Mobile is hardware. It's a hardware. It's an equipment. It's what we do with the mobile that's
Exactly.
really important. Am I allowed to ask you to repeat your experience with your mobile when you went to Bilbao? You told me yesterday. Would you like to repeat that?
So, well, it's Google now more than mobile. So last night, just to give you a bit of context to the audience, we were enjoying drinks together with Dr. Frenzel, which was a delightful discussion. And I just shared with them my experience as a user and as a Googler the first time I saw a Google Now card. So I was checking in a hotel, I was attending a concert, and it's a city that I happen to know very well because I lived there over 15 years. And I come out of the shower getting ready to the concert, and I see my mobile phone that blinks. I look at it, and I see a card that says, you need to leave now and take this street to be on time for the concert. So I just stood there still, alone in the room, and feeling a bit creepy. I was starting to look, is there any camera around me? Why do these people know where I am and where I need to be, and they're suggesting me an itinerary to get there, on time? Which I found fascinating as soon as I understood that this was just an interpretation of many data points that had been collected, and actually the software was anticipating my needs. Obviously, the software was not intelligent enough to understand that I knew the city very well, but it was giving me very valuable information. If instead of Bilbao, I would have been in Singapore, this would have been extremely useful. So this is a very good example, and thanks for bringing it up, of understanding all that data and making sense of the data in a way that is useful for the user.
Exactly. So it's mobile with the data and the software. Pedro, would you like to reflect on what do you think that is going to change things?
Well, thank you for having me here. Is this working? I would say that there are two main things happening, and one of them is artificial intelligence. And I don't mean it as Terminator, but artificial intelligence as a tool that will allow us to change the way we interact with machines and computers. We're used to having one-way conversations or once-through conversations, and we're going to start having a conversation. So a lot of people are saying that we're going to stop using Internet Explorers or Chromes and start using messaging apps to navigate the internet, and start using conversations to interact with things like Siri. And I think artificial intelligence is going to be very important to also anticipate, and I think some of you already mentioned that. Anticipate your needs and suit your offering to what you actually will need in the future. And very linked to this revolution is the availability of data. Semiconductors are cheap enough to put them everywhere, and we're going to generate a lot of data. And that amount of data is impossible to manage without a very powerful software and a very powerful machine. So I think it's the combination of those two things. And then as a consequence of putting internet everywhere, we're going to make everything become a cell phone, everything become a point of experience, we say. Anything that was just material will become active in the online world, and therefore it becomes a point of experience where we can interact much better with the person and where we can retrieve information about the behavior of the customer.
What fascinates me is the co-creation of many people simultaneously. And I really like to ask the audience here, how many people have tweeted or sent something on Facebook or shared information from today? Wow. Most of you have already shared information. I hope that you have said what the wonderful ideas that you are getting from here and that you are doing that. How many people had problems with Twitter this morning? How many people are really unhappy about it? Yeah? The thing is that we are gradually become co-creators of experience, and we are sharing this experience. So, I don't know, there are 800 people around here, and I guess more than 600 people have actually shared content. And somehow we need to gather, harness this data, harness this knowledge, and learn from it. And this will need new ways of dealing with big data and understanding not only the context, not only the language, but also the sentiment of the communication. Yeah? Would you like to take that on and see how you can use it can we use it in the tourism industry?
Absolutely. So if you look at our platforms across the globe, we have more than 200 shops in 37 countries, 25 languages. That's about more than 60 million visitors, unique visitors per month. We do about 6 transactions per second. So the time we were talking here, we already had booked a couple of hundred room nights. So that gives us all data points. On top of it, people that book, before they book, they search things. So all that data we have available. We know what kind of destinations are coming up through that data. And we try to give that to our partners. We would love to give that to our hotel partners, but we cannot just give them a X tera data dump. So that's our complexity, actually. How do we make that data actionable on our partner sites for our hotels, and for our customers as well. What we present, how do we make it as relevant as possible? It's our daily business. And it's a test and learn, so we run thousands of tests per year on that data. And we call it, and we ingrained it in the organization, actually. And we believe that's our success to the future, is a test and learn with all the data that we have available, rather than just betting on one horse. So we test and learn, some things work, we continue to invest, some things don't work, we stop it. And I think that's key to success in this industry.
With your company is doing dynamic packaging. Do you use context-based information, and do you use live feed in a way to create more successful packages?
Sí, sí. La verdad es que todo esto que estamos hablando a veces asusta, ¿no? Inteligencia artificial, redes neuronales, machine learning, lógica difusa. Yo al principio decía, ¿esto qué es, no? La gran ventaja que hay es que hay que perder el miedo, hay que empezar a utilizarlo, por ejemplo, para lo que estás diciendo de dynamic packaging, qué es lo que va primero, qué es lo que hay que priorizar. Y la gran ventaja que hay ahora es que cualquier empresa que quiera hacer todo esto tiene que planteárselo desde un punto de vista de T-saber. Es tan sencillo que lo que hay que valorar en la empresa es la velocidad de implantar cualquier cosa, por disparatada que sea, aunque te la proponga un tío con rastas hasta... La implantas, si funciona bien, bien, y si no, la quitas y pones otra. Entonces, todo este tipo de tecnologías, todo este tipo de acciones, la gran suerte que tenemos es que no hay que hacer grandes estudios, hay que ponerlas en un porcentaje relativamente bajo, sobre una muestra relativamente representativa, y si funciona amplías, y si no la quitas. Y entonces yo creo que cualquier empresa que no se plantee hoy día el utilizar este tipo de tecnologías tiene un problema hacia futuro, porque seguirá utilizando sistemas de decisión muy tradicionales.
Okay. If I can add something. So I fully agree. I think we also hear a lot of, let's say, buzzwords. We hear a lot about Internet of Things, big data, and you can get mad about all these things. So at the end, you cannot forget that the ultimate goal is to make money. So you need to find a good business model behind all these buzzwords. And sometimes you can get a bit lost in investing too much into things while you don't have where you are going. No? So I think it's important to look at that. I have maybe an example I can share also, maybe in relation with some comments made this morning about the the search in travel, the search, and how that is standardized and is not rich. And I think that most of the new developments related to data are very linked with personalized search. So how your hotel preferences, for example, if you have any particular preferences, can be part of your search algorithm and can be unique. And this is increasing the conversion rates massively. I think it's a good way of monetizing data, for example.
Search, I keep hearing. Xavier. How does Google monetize all this information that is coming out, and how does it personalize the product and the service and brings the right solution to the right customer?
It's a very complex question. I'll try to answer it in a simple way if I can. So Lee from Facebook mentioned the importance of context. Personalization, efficiency, micro-segmentation, hyper-segmentation, all of those are terms that came up during the different conversations today. So it's actually taking all that data that the user decides to share with the different technology providers with whom they interact and making sense out of them. How does Google make this? I'll give you a very concrete example. As you know, Google dismantled Google Hotel Finder as a site, as a commercial site at the end of 2015. And you may ask, why did that happen? Well, because we truly believe in context and understanding the moment in which the user is by interpreting all of those signals. So instead of having a site, a go-to site that is google.com/finder, hotel finder, we actually embed the hotel ads technology on the different Google properties like Google Maps or the Google results page. And this links very well with the artificial intelligence comments that were made earlier today as well, specifically by Dr. Frenzel. So Google in the past used to serve 10 blue links to the user, hopefully the best links available, based on the query that the user had done. If you look at the way our vertical products are evolving, the idea is to provide the most amount of data that is relevant to that user in that moment. Connecting with the comments made by Mr. Telebrify about the multi-screen, this requires you as a provider, either as a technology provider or as a hotel or travel provider, to interpret all of those data points and serve the data to that user in those different screens at different points in time, in which the user may have different needs. So it's really leveraging the data in an intelligent, artificially intelligent way to provide the best solutions possible.
I bet there are several people on the audience that they're asking, is Google going to move into bookings of hotels, and are they going to take on some of the existing OTAs?
That's a very good question, and I'm glad you asked it. Google has no intention of becoming a travel agent. Let me repeat this in Spanish. Google no tiene ninguna intención de convertirse en agente de viajes.
But?
No, that's a very clear statement. Now,
Okay.
our intention is twofold. It's actually to bring innovation to the travel ecosystem. That's number one. And number two is to work very closely with the different actors and the different players within the travel ecosystem to help them innovate. There's no results page if there are no providers of any nature participating in that search. Our intention is to, again, develop very strong partnerships with all of the industry players to better serve the users in a very dynamic environment, which is the travel environment.
All right. Pedro, you are consulting a lot of companies to move to the new digital era. But in Mediterranean countries, and being Greek, I faced that both in Greece, in Spain, in Portugal, in Cyprus. You have a lot of people who are thinking in the analog era. And most of these people are the decision makers right now. And they don't necessarily understand how to transform their companies and use the new tools that are emerging in the marketplace. How is your experience, and what makes people move to the next stage and digitalize their product and their process?
Thanks for the question. I just wanted to ask, to add a little bit about personalized search. I'm very excited about this new era when we're going to build or generate a lot of data about yourself. And this is going to contribute greatly to the personalization of search. And it's also going to generate a lot of challenges because of the privacy problems. But it's certainly very exciting from the customer point of view. Now, talking about digitalization, and particularly in the tourism industry, where there are lots of companies that used to be family-owned, I think there is something also exciting about the transition for the older generations. Older generations are closer to the founders of these companies, and they tend to understand the customer really well and tend to love the business more than anyone. So I think that the exciting part about digital, even if it seems very far away from the older generations, is that it brings back the voice of the customer to the center. It puts the customer in the center again. It allows us to avoid the burden or the barrier of the middle management of large corporations. So I think if it's well managed by companies, it's a very exciting tool to, again, bring back the energy of the passion for the mission of the company and bring back the voice of the customer. And those who understand it better and know how to use digital technologies to leverage this are going to have a huge advantage.
Yeah. I think in Spain you've got the advantage of now several large organizations, and especially in the hotel industry. You probably have got about 10 cadenas, 10 chains that are now managing a considerable amount of properties. And I've got some of my favorites. I've got to mention N8 because I quite like N8, but there are several other companies as well that are doing very nice innovations here. And I think these guys are moving all the industry forward because when they are going to see Expedia, when they go to see OTAs, they've got channel management, they understand how to do yield management, they understand a lot of things. On the other side, you've got the independents that some of them, 10, 15%, are on top of their innovation, but the vast majority are still not able to use all the tools. And I'm wondering how we can take the whole industry forward because, 70, 60, 70% in this country, but more in other countries of the businesses are very small operators. Would you like to take that?
Yep. So we see it as our role. We are a technology company in the first place. So we see ourselves as an enabler for the company because the thing we need to fix is so complex. I typically explain it in the 3 types of touch points. If you look at touch points in terms of geography, so we want to catch customers, Japan, Korea, Latin America. How do we get them to Spain, for example? So that's very complex because each of these customers, they have their specific needs to be localized. They have special payment terms, so special payment methods. So that's one demography also. So we have families traveling, business travel, leisure travel, singles. That's a complexity to address. And then there's the different technology touch points as well. So there's mobile, desktop, tablets, and all on different versions, etc. So I think it's quite impossible for an individual, how much or how clever a company or a standalone is to cater for all that. And that's where we see ourselves as a technology company. We're a good mix of, we're travel freaks actually in the company, right? So most of us have a hotel background, and that's mixed with some engineers, and that's very fruitful in managing that challenge.
Okay. Alex?
I'd
How can you take the small businesses to understand and use the technology and innovate?
I think that one angle that is important, and you alluded to that at the beginning, is not so much how the specific technologies, but how what technological change is implying. And it's the fact that change is faster and faster. So all companies, from large companies to small companies, have to get used to change rapidly, to test things. And what we see in the technology space is this power of the A/B testing, to compare things and drop what doesn't work. I think this change of mentality where you can test and reuse or drop things is critical. And this applies for large companies, but also for small companies. And very often, internet and new technologies are not disrupting because they are delivering a most complex product, but a simpler product. So a mistake that sometimes happens is that you try to make something that is more complicated, while what is really disrupting is a simpler solution. And this has to be taken into account.
Yeah. It's a matter of leadership, isn't it? It's a matter of understanding, it's a matter of being able to innovate. I spend a lot of time with hotel companies around the world, and I'm trying to teach them how to use social media. And the way that most of the hotel companies understand social media is that they've got 1 or 2 people that they are, community managers or whatever. They're sitting in the corner and they're doing it. Now, so for some of the companies that I'm working with, I can see what's happening on their background. So the customer is sending an email or a Facebook question on the messenger at 11 o'clock at night. And the customer expects, no matter what is the size of your company, an answer there and then. Most of the people, they will expect the next day the community manager pick up the question and reply 12 hours later. And I think it's companies like KLM that they've got a fantastic social media and engagement interaction policy, which they pledge that they'll answer to everything in 1 hour. 24 hours a day, 1 hour. And I'm asking people, why don't you answer during the night? And they said, but we're not, the social media person doesn't work during the night. I said, what about the receptionist? Can the receptionist, who is sitting there all night long, waiting for the next check-in at 3 o'clock in the morning, not answer some of these questions? But it's a mindset that is not evolving and it's not modernizing. Pedro, do you find that?
Actually, this is a good excuse because I wanted to talk about something that I find very interesting. The word micro moments. I don't know if you heard about it, but we were used to observing very long value chains, very long customer journeys, where the customer belongs to one single company. Yeah. These journeys are becoming disintegrated, more and more democratized. So any player, thanks to the new platforms, is able to play in different steps of that customer journey. And basically, I think since we're all becoming attention deficit sufferers, it's very easy to steal the attention of the client throughout the journey. So even if you're a small player, if you have the immediate response, if you provide the right experience, you're able to steal somebody from a journey and have him join another journey that will help you monetize him in a different way.
It's not a matter of stealing someone, it's providing value at the right time, the right customer, at the right place. And it's really about hitting them with a solution.
Yeah, I just wanted to be graphic.
Ovidio wanted to say something early on.
Sí, yo lo que quería comentar es de que, lógicamente, las empresas tienen recursos limitados, ¿no? Entonces, los hoteles a veces desvían la atención, los recursos, hacia la distribución y enfocan hacia el cambio de modelo que se está intentando implantar de la venta directa, sin tener en cuenta la complejidad que tiene a veces la distribución en todo su sentido amplio y sobre todo a nivel mundial, ¿no? Yo creo que el caso que has puesto es excepcional. Si en lugar de, si esos recursos que se dedican al cambio de modelo se utilizasen a lo que es el valor del hotel es un cliente satisfecho, es un cliente que realmente si tiene una queja hay que corregirla, ya no tanto para ese cliente, sino para los que además están sufriéndolo, y es una suerte ser muy activo en redes sociales, y yo invitaría a los hoteleros a invertir en ese tipo de herramientas que interpretan las respuestas de los usuarios, los tweets, los comentarios de los usuarios en redes sociales, y colocar en el recepcionista, ya no tanto el tweet, porque eso es imposible, sino colocar este cliente tiene un problema o está funcionando mal el restaurante de la piscina. Yo creo que todo lo que sea inversión en la calidad del cliente, sobre todo la calidad del cliente en el hotel, hoy día les va a redundar en muchísimo más tráfico directo debido a que todo el mundo colabora. Sin embargo, los mayores esfuerzos que yo estoy viendo, y ya no tanto en cadenas grandes, que como tienen mucho dinero y ganan mucha pasta, pues se pueden permitir todo. Pero yo estoy viendo que está desviando muchísimo dinero hacia tecnologías de distribución. Y yo creo que dentro de lo que sería la distribución, difícilmente una cadena hotelera va a poder competir con Expedia o Booking, que son enormemente grandes, enormemente especializados y emplean muchísimos recursos dentro de esta línea, ¿no? Es decir, yo creo que a pesar de que Internet facilita el cambio de modelo, creo que debemos de respetar cierta cadena de valor y sobre todo que cada uno aporte en aquella fase del ciclo para la cual está creado y especializado.
Yo quizá para elaborar en este último comentario que has hecho, yo creo que es cierto que Internet de alguna manera está haciendo cada vez más transparentes los precios de los hoteles y cada vez es más difícil estar arriba en la pantalla. Entonces, de alguna forma la habitación en el hotel se comoditiza y el seguir dedicando todos los recursos solamente a intentar estar arriba es un poco suicida al final, ¿no? Entonces, yo creo que hay una reflexión más estratégica, que es decir, ¿dónde yo como hotelero puedo también hacer dinero que no sea en la habitación? Y es en todos esos ancillary products, esa atención una vez el cliente está dentro de tu hotel, desde el momento en que ha hecho check-in. Entonces, invertir en ese merchandising complementario de la habitación, yo creo que es muy importante, y eso no es tanto distribución como trabajar en tu cadena de valor, ¿no? Y eso hay que dedicar más esfuerzos a esa idea de merchandising.
Let me do another social experiment here. Can I see those of you who are hoteliers to stand up, please? Do we have enough hoteliers in the room? How many people are hotel people?
Oh, really?
Very few. Stay up if you are a hotelier. Can you please stay up? How many people have we got who are hoteliers? Okay. Let me see all the hoteliers, please. Okay. Can only the hoteliers who are happy to pay 20 to 25% distribution stay up and then the rest sit down? Okay. That is a little experiment. Distribution right now costs quite a lot of money for hoteliers. And I'm not saying that it shouldn't, but I'm spending quite a lot of time trying to help hoteliers to understand a little bit better their distribution channels and how they can yield them distribution channels, because they're spending a lot of time trying to yield on their prices, but they need to yield on their distribution channels as well. Ait, would you like to take that on?
Yeah, that makes sense. It's a strategic tool in the distribution chain. So whether this is expensive or not, it's an expensive business to distribute, right? If you look at our expense, last year, or it's 2014, we put $2.8 billion in just marketing expense. We put 750 million last year in technology to make it happen. So that's something that you can only do at scale. It's an expensive business to be in. But yeah, and then we have different models also for different situations. So you can fine tune through the platform, booking window, length of stay, type of clients from which geography you want. So there's a lot of things to play with on the platform. It's not just the commission or the price on it.
Xavier, would you like to reflect whether it's a direct distribution plus the Google search engine optimization and Google Ads? Would that be an alternative way of distribution?
The fact that you name it alternative, it means that the other one is not optimal, and I think that's a wrong approach. So I think the hoteliers many of them do take a very financial approach to distribution, which I think is the right way. So if you have fixed capacity, which is the case for a hotel chain or a single hotel, you should look at the ways that help you, as an asset manager, maximize the GOP.
Optimization.
Optimize from a financial perspective, so the P&L. As a consequence, it probably makes sense to understand what's the GOP, the gross operating profit by channel. And if you are a hotel, let's say in La Gran Via de Madrid, do you need to pay 25% for the company that who is across the street? It doesn't sound like a very optimal solution, right, from a distribution perspective. Are you willing to pay 30% for a Japanese traveler when you don't have your site in Japanese and you don't have maybe the local credit card capacity on your site? It probably does. So rather than the fight between direct and indirect distribution, I think there should be a concept of optimal distribution by using all the available channels. Google should be one of them, but there are many other providers of traffic.
Okay, very good. I'd like to move a little bit towards the destination rather than on the hotel. And I've done a lot of keynote speeches in the last few years in Spain, and I've worked with my friend Antonio Davila. I'm not sure if Antonio is around, from Segitur, talking about smart tourism, and there are several destinations in Spain that they are emerging as smart destinations. How do you see a smart destination, and who do you see from your Spanish experience are the most smart destinations in the country? Who would like to pick that?
Maybe myself. Smart is a combination of different things, no? So innovative, sustainable, etc. I think that, as commented this morning, Spain is ranking pretty high on average, is quite good. So I'd like maybe to raise a couple of areas that I think are not so sophisticated. One is related to this balance between inflows of people compared to residents in some cities. For example, in Barcelona or in Córdoba, where at some points of the year you have too many visitors. And I think this is not well managed. So this deserves attention. A second area that I think could be improved is the role of new payment methods. We see in other cities, for example in London, in Hong Kong, where you have these cards that allow you move through the city on a relatively smart manner. And I believe that, and these things need some public sponsorship, some coordination. And I sense that in Spain we are far in terms of new payment methods coordinated at city level at least. No?
Right. I'm talking about smartness in the sense of interoperability, interconnectivity, and I'm talking about the different systems coming together. And last time I was here, I was in Benidorm, so I went to the local police station and looked into their control system and how they operate. And I was asking them, and they were telling me how many cameras they had, how the police cars are reporting back, the motorbikes, and the policemen who are going around. But this system is not connected with the bomberos, the firefighters, and the different elements of that. It's still on the phone, and I'm wondering whether you have any example of any of the destinations that they are emerging towards interconnecting all their systems, all the service providers, and going towards what we call SOCOMO marketing, social media, context-based, and mobile. So as you are going through, you get offers from different things, from different suppliers, or the offer is changing according to the weather. So if it's sunshine in Madrid, it's one kind of product. If it's raining, it's a different kind of product. If you're there with your loved one, it's one kind of product. If you're there with your kids, it's a different product. I'm wondering whether you know of any destinations in Spain who are taking advantage of those things. Alex?
Yeah, I'd like to comment. In Amadeus, we take pretty seriously this challenge, and it's really a challenge. No? We consider it multimodality, and it's basically to tackle the problem of how fragmented the travel experience is today. And since the moment you leave your house, you get to the taxi, then to the airport, then you get into the plane, and it's a succession of waiting moments, a lot of queues. You lose a lot of time. No system speaks to the rest of the systems, so it's completely fragmented. And this is a very painful travel experience from that angle. No? So having a seamless travel experience is a challenge. But you need to make systems speak to each other. This is far from easy, and becomes particularly critical at disruption points. So for example, an airplane that is getting to the airport and is delayed, you could feed directly the airport systems, so the new boarding gates are reallocated to the passengers. This will take a few years, but it will be there, and I think it's...
Is Amadeus trialing any of these things?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Vivian?
Yo vivo en Mallorca, que realmente hace falta meterle mucha inteligencia para realmente manejar 14 millones de turistas al año, ¿no? Hay un proyecto que está todavía en fase de universidad, muy interesante. Nosotros hemos tenido la oportunidad de participar y estamos participando, que consiste en mezclar los datos de Telefónica y de otros operadores de telefonía, BBV, tema de pago con tarjeta, y Twitch. Entonces, claro, evidentemente son millones y millones y millones de datos, pero se es capaz de hacer una trazabilidad de los recorridos que hace el cliente, los puntos de saturación, que es realmente espectacular la información que se consigue con esto. Lo que ocurre es que yo creo que estamos en una fase todavía muy incipiente del aprovechamiento de esta información. Es decir, por ahora la información se queda ahí y lo único que eres capaz de... Yo les pregunto, ¿y esto para qué sirve? Y me dicen, no sé. Es decir, realmente es muy interesante, pero claro, el luego ligarlo con la oferta del destino y ser capaz de condicionar movimientos y servicio, esto estamos muy limitados. Yo creo que las tecnologías, y aquí el mobile va a ser muy interesante, que hacen referencia al tratamiento del cliente o del servicio al cliente en destino, es donde hay un campo por abonar increíble. Es decir, yo creo que ahí es donde queda el cliente. Normalmente lo tratamos muy bien en todas las fases hasta que dice compro. Pero sin embargo, luego en destino está muy, muy perdido. Y ahí es donde va a existir una gran cantidad de oportunidades, hay cantidad de startups que en este momento se dirigen a ese nicho o a ese momento del cliente y que para mí va a ser una de las áreas de futuro desarrollo tecnológico. Yo creo que los destinos, en cuanto a Smart, yo creo que lo mismo que he dicho de los hoteles, creo que es aplicable y todavía más a la función pública a la hora de valorar el destino. Es decir, hay herramientas ya de intérprete lingüístico de qué opinan los clientes de ese destino, qué cosas valoran bien, qué cosas valoran mal, y sin lugar a dudas debería de ser el plan de trabajo de todos los funcionarios dedicados a la mejora del servicio en destino, porque además está muy fácil. Esto sí que es realmente fácil ahora ya utilizarlo y disponer de ello.
And you think it's a destination management organization that needs to do that? It's the public sector.
Bueno, son las dos cosas. Es decir, el problema que hay aquí es que se mezclan los dos. Es decir, esa información es valiosísima, evidentemente, para la planificación de servicios públicos, sin lugar a dudas, pero también lo debería de ser para el sector privado a la hora de diseñar horarios, ofertas muy concretas en función. Es decir, con la tarjeta es que sabes lo que está comprando. Pues si compra, no sé, si se mete a comprar pantalones, no le ofrezcas sombreros, yo qué sé. Es decir, el caso es que es una información valiosísima que está ahí. Es necesario que salga de las universidades, es necesario que salga de los lugares donde se está procesando y que llegue, por un lado, a la función pública y, por otro lado, al sector privado, para que cada uno haga con ella lo que realmente su cabeza sea capaz de argumentar.
Pedro?
I just wanted to say that this is actually a great opportunity for entrepreneurs. There are governments or corporations sitting on huge amounts of data they don't know how to manage or how to optimize or use. And there are new platform owners, companies like Google or IBM or big software players that have new technologies that are able to eat that data and do things with it. And there are lots of people, young people, looking for something to do. So it's an excellent opportunity. We did this year a first exercise. Hackathons are very popular now about creativity or about business plans or about ideas. But we hadn't got to the point where entrepreneurs really could get their hands on the private data of companies and corporations. We did one exercise this year with 1 million clients of an electricity company, a very big electricity company. We had to build custom software to be able to query that data in a short amount of time. It was and gigabytes of data. Put it on the cloud, replicate it. But I would tell you the biggest challenge we had was with the legal department, because they're not used to sharing that data, and you need to put that data through a series of processes to make it anonymous in order to make it available to everybody. But if you do it with separate corporations, and then if you are able to combine different companies that talk to the client in the same process, it becomes really interesting. If you could have government data and electricity data and mobility or environmental data and banking data at the same time, I cannot even imagine how many new business models or new companies could come up and how everybody would benefit: the region, the corporation, the entrepreneur, and everybody around it.
You almost go to my next question, which is, who is going to bring the innovation? And most of the people are looking to the government saying, can you please give me money or give me innovation so I can benefit as an industry? Who do you think that are the innovators who are going to change the tourism industry in the future? Bearing in mind that most of the innovation is coming outside the tourism industry. Most of the innovation is not coming from inside the tourism industry.
If I can just go on, but I would say that everybody will benefit from that innovation. I think it's absolutely necessary for corporations to survive. It will be necessary for regions to prosper. And it will be necessary to create the jobs for the next few years. I think that, and I lived in the US, for example, many years, there's a huge venture capital industry there that can bridge the gap between a small company and a huge corporation. That is very unlikely to happen in other places in the world, that we replicate that huge amount of VC funds. But I think corporations and governments can play a very big role, and it's to their benefit. Up till now, corporations and governments saw entrepreneurship as something they did to help the environment or to help the ecosystem, or because they needed to help the younger people. Now it's going to become necessary for them to survive. And the corporations and the regions that understand how to connect these two ecosystems are going to be the most successful. And that needs to happen fast.
Dimitri, I'd like to challenge a bit this statement about innovation not happening or not originating in the tourism industry, or in the travel industry. Let me give you an example. The revenue management applications were originated in the airline space 60 years ago, and then this was very complex, and it was completely a new thing, and this was expanded into other industries. Now telecoms or other industries are using revenue management concepts, but this was triggered from airlines, for example, and I think there are a few other examples of that.
I actually concur with our Amadeus colleague. I think travel is ahead of the game in many instances versus other industries who haven't embraced digital as early as travel did. So digital had a brutal impact on the travel value
Mainly
chain.
on e-commerce, mainly on sales, but not in the re-engineering of the experience. What technology has done, and that's what the research shows, is that it has enabled organizations to do e-commerce, to sell better. But in fact, they've automated the process rather than re-engineer the process and find new ways of emerging and doing different
Not
things.
only, I'll challenge that, if I may. Look at destination management companies. You've seen many of them using video, which is a platform that's available to everyone in very innovative ways, which have allowed them to get more influx of tourism, if that was their aim. If you look at the last 15 years, companies like Expedia, present here today, were founded 20 years ago from nothing to a massive market capitalization. If you look at Uber, that's the use of technology for a travel application in less than 8 years. Airbnb, another example of companies that
These
came
are the
out of the blue.
outsiders who came into the industry. In fact, they're challenging the industry. And this was, I was referring without mentioning them. These are the outsiders. I was in 5 minutes, okay. I was in China recently, in Hangzhou, and they were telling me that Hangzhou has got 10 million people. It has got 50,000 cars that on Uber. But these are outsiders. And they're challenging the industry. And that's what I'm referring to.
I think there's a lot of innovation in the travel space.
And I think even the other way around, if you look at the Amazon case this year, some companies from other businesses that try to get into the travel space and they have to abandon because it's very specific, it's not that easy. So I think it's very particular as a sector.
Okay, last question for the panel. If you are looking to the re-engineering of the tourism industry, and if you can think about what's going to happen in 5 years' time, what do you think is the most important thing that's going to change in the next 5 years? By 2020, what will do differently from what we do now?
Can I
Yeah.
start? I would like to share, because this morning we spoke a lot about shared economy, no? And this was perceived as a danger, as a threat, right? And certainly it is a change of situation completely. I think it's going to be difficult to stop it. So it's there, and you will have to somehow accept that this is happening. And then I was told a few days ago a very interesting case from Sixt, which is the rent-a-car company. And rent-a-car is completely impacted by the Ubers, the BlaBlaCars. This is a huge impact for this type of model. No? What Sixt has done is say, we are not a rent-a-car anymore. We are a mobility enabler. And if you are a mobility enabler, all these things suddenly become opportunities. So suddenly you have an office in the airport, and you are not only renting cars, but maybe you are also providing a service with a driver, or maybe you are connecting the business person with a BlaBlaCar driver. So suddenly there are a lot of new streamline business lines that are working really well. And I think this is very smart for Sixt. So coming back to your question, I think that many companies will have to reinvent themselves, change a bit their mindset, and look into a broader perspective.
Look at the value.
Yes, I think.
Look at the value and deliver it. Ovidio?
Sí. Yo creo que si tuviese que decir qué es lo que hacia dónde hay que tirar es a eliminar las cajas buscadoras. Yo creo que la caja buscadora pertenece al pasado, eso de dónde quiero ir, qué fechas, etc. Yo creo que ahora lo que va a exigir el cliente es que le adivines qué es lo que quiere. Lo que le va a exigir, lo que nos va a exigir es ser capaces de dar propuestas muy personalizadas y muy ajustadas a cada cliente. Y creo que el hecho de eliminar la caja buscadora o plantearse como objetivo en una empresa como la nuestra, eliminar la caja buscadora, implica un reto enorme en la definición y búsqueda de cuál es el valor o qué es lo que cada cliente te exige. Es decir, la personalización o la individualización de la oferta que le vamos a dar y cómo hacerlo. Yo creo que este va a ser el gran reto de la tecnología del futuro.
Xavier, do you think that search is going to go to much more holistic ways of looking at things and understanding natural language and natural gestures and natural ways of expressing desires rather than phrases or keywords?
Absolutely, yes. The same way that we have evolved from 10 blue links to a more immersive experience and more understanding of what the user is looking for, I'm not going to hazard a guess in terms of product. What I think is going to happen is the customer expectations are going to be much higher. That's the only thing that I think is sensitive to project from today's in 5 years' time. And coming back to Ovidio's comments, I think the last 200 years have been about when and where, and the next, the time ahead of us is going to be how and why.
Yeah. 8, where is Expedia, and where do you see we're going in the future? And what would you sell in 5 years' time?
Yeah, the answer is going to sound very stupid, but it's true. We have no idea, right? And I think it's about.
I think that's the most clever way of looking at it.
And it's about being prepared about that. It's definitely going to be mobile, social, personalized, but it's to. We are building up our company to deal with that uncertainty and continue to test and figure out what's going to work. We don't know. We don't have a 5-year plan that we're after.
Any tips you can give out without being liable for the whole range of things? Anything that you are testing that currently that's going to come in the future? He's thinking.
I'm thinking which one. There's so many experiments running. I think a cool one we launched with a couple of test partners is what we call real-time feedback. We touched a bit with social media, but we're giving tools to our hotel partners in interacting with their clients right now, rather than waiting until it goes to Twitter or Facebook or even TripAdvisor. So that direct communication and the power of now is getting more and more important.
Yeah. Nowness is incredibly important. Nowness. Pedro, last word?
I would just pay attention to whoever owns the data and who understands the customer. And if they're together, I would really bet on them.
Okay. I'd like to conclude by saying it's not about technology. It's really about understanding value for all the shareholders, for all the people who are the stakeholders of the value co-creation. And it's all about co-creation of value. And technology will be an enabler. We are looking at technology as a piecemeal kind of approach, but technology will be the enabler to co-create value in real time. Real time will be critical. Understanding cognitive ways of non-expression, understanding a lot of things from customer behavior will be critical in predicting what's going to happen in the future and proactively bringing a solution to actually addressing all the different value propositions that the customer requires. I think smart technology, robotics will be critical, personalization, SOCOMO, augmented reality, and being proactive and reactive. And we'll conclude with that. I hope that you enjoy the session and that you can take some of these conclusions back to your organization. I'd like what Aid said, that we don't know what the future is going to look like, but we are constantly experimenting to be able to be ready for the future. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.